All right, Aditya, thanks for joining me. And now moving on. Now, massive protests have taken place across Bulgaria, accusing the government of widespread corruption. The protests underscore political rifts just weeks before the country is to join European nations that use the euro as the official currency at the start of the next year. The demonstrations came after last week's protests that were sparked by the government's budget plans for higher taxes, increased social security contributions and spending increases. The government later withdrew the controversial 2026 budget plan. The protesters' demands have expanded to include calls for the centre-right government of Prime Minister Rosen Zhelyazkov to resign. I have Brian Thomas joining me with more details. Brian, what more can you tell us?
Well, yes, clearly as of now, what we are getting to know that thousands, rather tens of thousands of demonstrators poured onto the streets in Bulgaria in a major anti-government rally, and this had started happening. Not only that, they were demanding political accountability and fresh reforms. There was additional deployment of forces to manage the crowds, to manage the demonstrators itself. They were sloganeering, they were showing placards, and this large-scale protest also, rather very importantly, marks one of the biggest public mobilizations in the country that happened in recent months. Yes.
All right, Brian. So now, of course, viewers, we're getting you this big breaking news that, of course, we're sharing with you at this point. Now, of course, this massive protests have taken place across Bulgaria, accusing the government of widespread corruption. The protests underscore political rifts just weeks before the country is to join European nations that use the euro as the official currency at the start of next year. The demonstrations, as we're telling you, have come after last week's protests that were sparked by the government's budget plans for higher taxes. All right. Now, the Australian Prime Minister, viewers, Anthony Albanese, today took aim at young people parading themselves on social media a day after a world-first ban on under-16s went live, saying the rollout was always going to be bumpy, but would ultimately save lives. Under the law, 10 of the biggest platforms, including TikTok, Meta's Instagram and Alphabet's YouTube, must bar underage users or face a fine of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars. I have Brian Thomas joining me with more details. Brian, what more can you tell us?
Well, yes, clearly Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has staunchly defended his government's trailblazing social media ban for users under 19, insisting the measure is necessary to protect young people's mental health and well-being, even as many teenagers openly boast that they are still active online. The law now in effect requires major platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat and Facebook to block under 16s or face fines up to around $49.5 million. While about 200,000 TikTok accounts linked to minors have already been deactivated. Now, reports are also suggesting that some teens are still accessing social media through workarounds and age verification loopholes, prompting debate about the law's effectiveness. Not only that, supporters are also framing the ban as a landmark child safety initiative, but critics are also warning that enforcement challenges and unintended consequences like migration to lesser regulated apps or even reliance on VPNs may limit its impact.
All right, Brian, thanks for joining me with those details. And with that, we're slipping into a short commercial break. Stay with us.